So hello everyone, welcome to Lobo.kun. Today we're reviewing Figma Berserker, the new armor version, and it's the KO. And I gotta say, immediately we can tell that it's the KO by the box. There's like a printing problem here. Figma and then what? Figma EA? What? But that doesn't matter, it's just a small detail that you can immediately tell that it is not the official one. Now the box didn't came like this, I had to put it together. So now, of course, another sign that it is a KO. But let's unbox it and take a look of what's inside. But first,
Follow me. I'll cover you.
so let's start by talking about the overall look of the figure. That is very good. Even though there are some sloppiness in some parts of the paint and some small defects, but they are very well masked because this is an armor and it kind of has that, worn out armor look that works pretty good to hide flaws. Overall, there's not that much to complain here. It's a very good looking figure. The sword paint is the big problem, but I'm going to talk about that later on the review. But overall, the looks, I do give it a A+. So this is actually my second take on the review of this guy, because unfortunately it's a little bit frustrating. And I mean, yeah, really frustrating. Let me tell you, first off, you will need to apply some heat to change some parts, because a lot of parts are going to be stuck and it has some problems now. Because of this arm is actually a lot loose. See, this one is actually good, this one is really loose, it was falling off constantly, and a lot of parts fall off when you're trying to exchange parts. So be careful with that. Now, besides the two fist hands that he has right now, it brings a bunch of more hands. Now we have some pose hands, several style of pose hands, I would say. Some more open, some more like grabby, some more to support the sword. So you have variety of hands, and these hands actually bring pegs of their own instead of just fitting on the ball hinge. Now, so there's no ball hinge system on these hands. All of them have individual pegs that you peg in his arm. But these are not the only ones. We have a bunch of grabby hands. Now, they're all grabby hands with small differences. You have variety at least, but they basically do the same thing. This is hold the sword. All of these hands are well painted and more or less do the same job as, again, the armor. Because it's an armor, all of the small defects that they have on the paint actually look like it's just rusty armor, so it's a good thing. So I spoke about the sword, and here's the sword. Now the sword, I believe, is the weakest in terms of the overall look, because they just didn't manage to do well the sloppiness of the bloody paint. This just does, it's like the most perfect bloody paint that I've ever seen in my lifetime. It's just not good at all, so I may completely try to redo the paint job of this sword. And if you wanted me to do that and to actually show that on camera how to repaint this sword, please leave me a like, share this video, leave me a comment, help spread the video so I know that it is worth it to do this repaint and fixing of this sword. Again, because it's just ugly this way, so I do believe that I can make a much better looking sword. To fit in one of the grabby hands, it's actually very easy. You just need to unscrew this bottom part here, just a small peg, so be careful not to break it. Sometimes even the original ones can break. You already saw my Megumi review, it broke one of these pegs on one accessory, so be careful.
put the hand in, and again, just go, take this part and close it. Very simple to do, and there you go. You have your hand on the right spot, and you can put like both hands, even though it's harder to pose with him with both hands on the sword, but I believe it's possible. So then we have the cape, and the cape plugs in his back, and there's like an accessory that also plugs in the cape. I'll show you later. It looks okay, but I don't like plastic capes for the most part. I would prefer like it was actual cloth and would have like some bendy wires on it, because this just limits a lot the poses that you can do. I really am not a big fan of plastic capes, especially one that is so big. Not my favorite. Still a nice accessory, of course, it completes the look, but it will limit a lot the poses that you can do, especially because it's very heavy. And then we have helmet styles. Now the one that comes from default is this simplistic skull. Yeah, okay, the focus distance is a little bit hard sometimes, but you can see it's a very simplistic look. It's a little bit shorter, the mask is very simplistic. Now when you take off the mask, his face is actually well done, better than I thought, even though I think the original one looks a little bit better, but you actually never pose it with the head exposed, so you always have to have the mask. Looks cool. Now this was the hardest part of all, to change this part, because you need to remove this and of course take the head off and put one of the new heads, and this was actually extremely stuck, but I managed to take it off after applying some heat. Here we go, our alternatives. This is a longer mask, and of course we have this little chest part that has this also a little bit longer. So as the mask grows longer, so does this part of the armor, and you need to of course replace this and to replace the mask. And then finally we have the longer one. The longer one is more detailed. It does not need the face itself, so because there's no eye place, so just remove the head and put this one, and of course you have even a longer chest part of the armor to replace. As mentioned previously, this part was hard. I first tried to remove the chest part, and it was just not wanting to come off, and again I think I'm having the same problem all over again. First off, let's remove the head, and I already did a boo-boo and I separated that peg. But let's see if I can remove this chest part in an easy way. So after applying so much heat, it removed easy. And of course this part comes off. Let's remove this peg. The peg is fixed, as you can see. And now we have his head out of the helmet. So this helmet goes here. Let's take his new helmet, open it up, put the face in, there you go, and just fit the head back in. There you go. We have our head ready, and we can take the new chest part, place it, and finally put his new head in. It looked easier now because I already spent a whole time filming and struggling with this and applying heat. It was frustrating as hell, so be careful with that. Be really careful with that. And again, loose arm a little bit because of problems like this. They kept making things pop off. While he stands well on his own, you do have a Figma stand, and the Figma stand is actually very nice, but the part that you connect with him is not transparent as normally Figma does it. He has actually the same color more or less of his armor, very tight fit, and actually all the joints are very tight, and you actually want them to be very tight so it can hold the character well. But I prefer that this part was transparent. I'm just not a big fan of not being transparent. but I believe this figure is based on an older figure, and a lot of the things that you notice are exactly old stuff that Figma used to do. Unfortunately, they don't do it anymore. And finally, the last accessory, that is this ghost thing. Some problems exist on the paint of it. As you can see, some defects there. It's okay overall. The head moves and it's supposed to clip on his cape, and I'm going to do it right now. First off, let's clip a huge cape on him that increases his weight quite a bit, but actually helps him stand without the help of the stand. And then you have a small place to clip the ghost on the cape. And there you go, completing the look. Small accessory, cool accessory. Pity the paint problem, but it's not very noticeable overall.
And now comes the interesting part. Let your fingers get in there and have a good old rub-a-dub.
Okay, well, so let's talk about articulation. We have a ball hinge to ball joint system in the head. It should give us great range of motion, but it's actually very limited because of this huge friggin' piece of armor. You can still look down really far, up, and it should be able to rotate, but just not as easy when it is right here. Now then, we have some weird things in the shoulder, because I believe we have a ball hinge to ball joint system. Not my favorite, because you cannot open the arm up. Just, you can move it forward, backwards, and basically it's kind of stuck there. Just doesn't give you a good range of motion at all. And then of course we have this circular hinge in the elbow, allows you to rotate on the hinge itself. And here the ends are a very old system from Figma. Instead of the classic ball hinge, we just have like a hinge that pegs in the hand. It can rotate, it can move front to back. Still, I prefer the old system, but this is actually better in terms of not breaking the articulation. So not bad. I believe here we have a ball hinge. I believe it's not a ball joint, it's a ball hinge. Sides, a little bit of side to side rotation, not that much leaning back, a decent crunch, and that's it. Down here, I believe this is just a floaty. Now the lengths again are, I believe, in the triple ball joint system, but the armor again gets in the way and his spread is pathetic. You can rotate up there, kick forward just this far, very low kick, and back again this far, because again the armor gets in the way. We then have our classic circular hinge in the knee, and this is just a floating piece. You can use it to hide a little bit the joint, and basically that's it. And I believe we have the classic circular hinge in the foot, not that much forward, not that much back. It's supposed to have a pivot, but is not pivoting right now. Supposed to, in this type of articulation, it's supposed to pivot, and of course you have that toe bend. Works well on both sides, more or less. It's a little bit stiff. The articulation of this figure is nothing special.
Oh yes.
Figma, Fate Apocrypha, Mordred. Figma, Fate Grand Order, Gilgamesh. Rivaltech, Full Metal Alchemist, Alphonse Elric. Figma, ReZero, Ram.
So to summarize, this is actually a good looking figure. Even though it's a KO, it looks very close to the original one, but unfortunately the feel of handling the figure is not really that good. There was a lot of parts that were stuck, a lot of heat had to be implemented so I could change things. Some of the joints are a bit too loose, and the articulation is very limited. And of course that sword paint is actually still bothering me, and I will definitely think about fixing it. So if you want just looks, maybe you can get this one, it's not bad. But if you want the action figure to handle a lot, maybe this is not your best choice. Thank you guys for watching. If you're not subscribed yet, subscribe. If you are, don't forget to leave a like. Tell me what you think in the comment section below. Help YouTube algorithm understand that this video is worth watching and worth spreading, and help this channel grow, because with this channel growing, more videos like this can come.
See you next time.